Hi, folks. This is Scott Hughes, following up on an ALPAP session that we had just over a month ago when several participants requested uh, a little guidance in terms of how access could be leveraged to convert the SESIS testing modification accommodation table into a normalized format. So with that being said, I'll show you something that I set up to achieve that goal. And once it's set up, it's very reusable. So with that being said, the database that I sent you is this one. I'm going to open it up, and you'll see that it contains nothing but a form. The reason for that is that in order to make this work for your school, you'll need to import your school's data table. Specifically for middle schools and high schools, you'll need to download 4 data tables. 3 which are already created for you, and 1 for 504 students. So with that being said, let me just kind of walk you through the process. You'll see that there's a form here that if you double click on, this window will open and it'll guide you through the process of the 4 data tables to open. And then you simply click on each button once to get all of the information. With that being said, let me import the data tables. You'll see the first one is the CSIS data table. So I'm going to import this data table first by going to external data, new data source, from file, Excel. I'm going to navigate my way to that file. I happen to have these data tables saved onto my laptop here. I'm going to go to the testing modification table where these data tables are stored. And I'm going to go down to my CSIS data table. It's worth noting that this is the CSIS data table that is generated uh, uh, after one goes to advanced reports in CSIS. It's also very important to share that you'll want to export that table in CSV form so as to eliminate any merged cells, and then save it as an Excel worksheet. Uh, with that being said, I'll double click on the file. It now knows where the file is. I'm going to click on OK. I want to make sure that this box is checked, as the first column does contain column headings. I'll click Next. I'll then want to make sure that the student ID field is in data type text. I'll also, in an abundance of caution, change the grade field to a short text if it isn't already. The home district field, I'll change to short text as well. Uh, by then I should be good. I'll then click on Next. I'll need no primary key, as the student's ID coupled with some other fields would qualify as the primary key. Click on No Primary Key. I'll click Next again. And then I want to give this a different name. I want to call it CSIS data table as expressed on the form itself. It's important to note that access is case sensitive, so you'll want to write CSIS in capital letters, followed by a space, data with a capital D, followed by a space, and table with a capital T with no space following it. I'll then click on Finish. I do not want to save the import steps. I'll click Close, and you'll see that the first data table is here. Right? This is your CSIS data table. You're all very familiar with what this looks like, I'm sure. I'll then import the second data table, which will be, let's see, the 504 data table. I'm going to navigate my way to where that file is. It's right here in the same folder. I'll double click on it. I'll click OK. It's worth noting that this table, and only this table, is developed here at the school. For that reason, it's important that you copy this structure identically. So I'm going to click on first row contains column headings as it does. You'll see the names of the column headings are student ID, last name, first name, accommodation. It's a very simple data table. Um, uh, and this was generated by our test 504 coordinator. We utilize STARS Customer Report 3.07 rather than have the coordinator type this information up because it avoids any scenario of perhaps a typo with an OSIS number, in which case the data would not link. With that being said, I'm going to click on Next again. I want to make sure that student ID is short text, and it is. I need not be concerned about the other fields. They will certainly be text as they are. I click Next again. I'm going to say no primary key for this, as the student ID field is the primary key. I click Next again. I'm going to give this data table the following name, 504 space data table. I'm going to go click on Finish. I'll click Close. You'll see the data table is here. Again, it's a very simple data table. These are the 504 accommodations. It might be helpful for you to see it in design view, only because you will need to mimic this structure for your 504 students to make it work for this database. Again, it will be looking for this data table, and it will be looking for the column headers within this data table. So you have to create an identical version of it. All right, I'll click X here. I'll then go to the third data table, which is Custom Report 1.01. This data table is available in STARS on the Custom Reports. I'm going to navigate my way to that file. I'll double click. I'll click OK. I'll click first row contains column headings. I'll click Next. I'll make sure that student ID is in data type short text. I'll do the same with grade level. Sometimes we have shared instruction students where it is ST, and it will lose that data. I'll also go to room number, short text. I'll click Next. I'll say no primary key. I'll then click Next again, and I'm going to give it a name of CR1-01. Again, that's capital C, capital R, 1-01. That's just the protocol that I use to label it Custom Report 1.01. Access will not take periods, so I place a dash instead. I click Finish. I click Close. You'll see that data table is there as well. I do the same thing for the last data table. This is now 3.07. I navigate my way to that table. I'm going to click OK. First row contains column headings. I want to make sure that that is checked. I click Next. Student ID field, I want to make sure that this is short text. Go to last name, first name, grade level. I want to change grade level to short text. I want to change GEC, grade entry cohort, to short text. And then I want to go to geocode and change this to short text. I click Next. I click No Primary Key. I'll click Next again. I'll give this data table the name CR3-07 for the same reasons as mentioned before. This is Custom Report 3.07. I'll click Finish. I will not save the steps. And at this point in time, if you've done everything right, or as I did, you'll have these four data tables appearing in this left pane. Again, I'll just repeat this just in the abundance of caution. It's important that each data table has the same exact name that I have given it, because the queries and macros that you do not see that are here will be looking for these data tables. And they will also be looking for the same column headers within each data table. So with that being said, if you've followed these steps as I just modeled, we're then going to simply click on each button once, working our way down. Okay, and part of the reason I set these up into different buttons is just to allow you to see what it does and how it does it, right? And so with that being said, if you take a look at the SESIS data table, you'll know that it has multiple records for students. And we're going to just add a column to this data table. We're going to call it counter. We're going to put it over here. And that's going to simply increment for each record that exists for one student. So if there's one record, it'll be 1. If there are 2 records, it'll be 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. All right. In order to store that, we need to add that column. And by simply clicking on this button, it will add that field. So you see it says field counter was added to SESIS data table. Okay. I'm just going to show you the design view so that you can see it. And here it is. Okay. All right. Now that we have that empty column in place, we're going to run what's called a macro. Um, Actually, this is some code written in VBA. I'm going to just click on this button and it's going to populate that field by counting the number of times it sees an OSIS number that it already saw. So I click on this button, count is updated successfully. I'll then open this table just so that you can see what this looks like. You'll see 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you see ones followed by ones, that means that there's only one record for that student. When you see 1, 2, 3, you can infer from that that this is all one students. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all one students. Okay. So it simply adds that incremental value for records with the same OSIS number. Okay. Now that I've populated the counter, I'm going to ask access to normalize the data table by simply slicing the SESIS data table up by the counter number. So it's going to create a table of 1s, a table of 2s, a table of 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. I stop at 9 as um, uh, I have one student. I don't have any students with more than 9 records. It's worth noting that this table goes up to 12 possible records in SESIS. If by chance you have a student that has more than 12, it will not capture the 13th accommodation, but I'd be hard pressed to think that anybody would have 13. So with that being said, just to make all I need to do is I just click on this button once, and that's it. The table exists. It's a bit hidden. You can't see it until you click on this button. So we want to open the overall data table listing testing modifications, accommodation status of all students. I click on this button, and now you'll see that I have the testing modification table set up. Again, I went to 12 possible accommodations. That's significantly more than any school should need, but you'll see it migrated the data from left to right for all of the students. Okay. It's also worth noting that this table has a column for 504 accommodations. It is a distinct column. The reason I make a point of putting the 504 accommodations in a separate column is that sometimes we've had overlap. If I simply swept this data into, let's say, this field or this field, um, there are times when you'll have like a declassified student that is entitled to one type of accommodations, and maybe the 504 differs from those declassified accommodations. And it's important to see both so as to ensure that you're making the appropriate decision for the student. So with that being said, this will list all of the 504s. If I wanted to, I could simply filter them out, all right, by clicking on the triangle and then filtering, just as you would in Excel. I'll unfilter. Here you have a list of all the students with IEPs. If you want to see which students among them are entitled to testing modifications, accommodations by virtue of their declassification status, you can see that as well. All right, I'm going to unfilter this file as well. Now, you can take this table. All right, this is everyone at my school. And if I wanted to drop this into an Excel file, it really is no more difficult than simply clicking in the top left portion of this table, right up here. Then I hit Control C. I open up an Excel file. And I can paste it in by highlighting the entire sheet or just clicking in A1, hitting Control V. It says the data you're pasting isn't the same size. Do you want to paste anyway? That's entirely fine. So I click on OK. Right. I then just would clean this up a bit by stretching the columns out a little more. I'll click on the top left box. I'll stretch these columns out. I'll double click here between the rows. You'll see it'll squeeze them together. I'll then double click here. It'll consolidate it left to right. You might want to add a little definition to this by clicking in any cell, Control A. I'll then just put borders for all of them. Maybe I want to center it just to make it a little more readable. And you'll see again, this is the data table for the entire school, inclusive not just of 504s, I'm sorry, not just of IEPs, but 504s as well. Okay. Now, if we go back to the form by clicking up here, now that we have that data table, wouldn't it be nice, as I referenced at the training session, to share this in a disaggregated manner by teachers? And by having Customer Report 3.01 embedded into this database, I can link the table that you just saw to 1.01. And by simply clicking on this button, it will give me that linked data table. So you'll see this informs Mr. Alan Gakis of which students in his classes are eligible for testing modifications. Uh, uh, and by extension, which students are not, right? So any blank cells here inform the teacher that these students are not eligible for testing modifications. Again, if we wanted to paste this into an Excel file, I just simply click the top left to highlight every record. I hit Control C. I go back to that Excel file. I'll create a new sheet. I'll click in A1. I'll hit Control V. I'll stretch this out again by clicking in the top left, stretching the A column out. Then I'll double click here. And then I'll double click here. I'll click in one cell. I'll hit Control A. I'll center it. I'll add some borders just to make it a little more readable. And the last piece is this table that I just shared with you allows a teacher to know definitively one way or the other if a student or if any student in their classes either has or does not have a testing modification or accommodation. Let's say just for readability purposes, we wanted to provide the teacher with just a list of names for students that have testing modifications accommodations. So if we go back to that form and we click on the very last button here, group testing accommodation modification status by teacher, sort by period, alpha, only students with accommodations or modifications. So if I click on this button, it will run that query, and you'll see that it only lists the students. So Mr. Alan Gakis, for his period 2 class, only has one student with modifications or accommodations. Period 5, he has 3. Period 8, he has 8, and so on. And so again, if I want to drop this into an Excel file, I click in the top left of the table, Control C. I'll drop this into Excel, Control V. I'll clean it up just by highlighting the entire table by clicking in the top left box. I'm going to stretch column A out. I'm going to double click between the rows, in this case 2 and 3. That'll crunch them together. And then I'll go back to the line that separates column A from column B. I'll double click. It'll bring it together. I'll click in any cell. I'll hit Control A. I'll click on centering alignment. I'll add a grid just to make it readable. And now I have all 3 data tables. This would be the overall. This would be the overall list. I generally put the date, November 9th, 2025. This might be the overall by teacher, and this might be modification accommodation only by teacher. And there you have it. All right, so that is just one way. Once this database is utilized once, you can see how in the span of 3 or 4 minutes, you'll have the data that you need. And more importantly, that this is reusable. You can use this at any point in time of the year to generate live snapshots, right? So as your IEPs are modified, as 504s are created, you can simply download or import the most up-to-date data tables and have these contextualized tables generated automatically. So with that being said, that's all that I wanted to cover. Again, the use of the form is to really just help you implement this process pretty quickly. And if you wanted to kind of see like under the covers of this database in terms of how it accomplishes its goals, there are a lot of aspects to this database that I deliberately hid from view, just to allow clarity for this database. But if you did want to see everything, you can simply go to File, Options. You go to Current Database. You scroll down to Navigation Options. Click on this button, and you'll see an unchecked Show Hidden Objects button. If you check that, and then click OK, followed by another OK, you'll see a lot of hidden queries that really kind of work behind the scenes when you click on the buttons. All right. Feel free to take a look at that if you find it helpful to kind of see the process and how it plays out in a step-by-step manner. All right. So with that being said, that concludes this video. I hope you find this helpful. I hope this database gives you folks one less thing to spend wasteful minutes on. All right. Be well, and by all means, feel free to reach out should you have any questions related to this. All right. Thank you.